Hi everyone, this is Naomi and I found this exciting tag called the Veggie Tales tag and it's great. It was created by Chapter Kate and I'll link her video down below. I grew up on Veggie Tales. It was a staple in my home, especially being a missionary kid. It was like one of the safest things we could watch. I remember the first superhero that I ever saw was Larry Boy. Like, that's how much ingrained it was in us. So it's really funny that she did this tag and I was like, I have to do that tag as soon as I can. So I put together my answers and I hope you enjoy, especially if you grew up watching Veggie Tales and enjoying Veggie Tales. So the first song is the Water Buffalo song. In this one, we have to talk about a book that everyone loves, but you haven't read yet. So for me, I have not read The Nightingale by Kristen Hanna, and I know everyone loves this one. And maybe that's why I haven't picked it up yet. I'm kind of scared to be honest. I know I've heard it's gonna break me. It's so sad. It's wonderfully done. And I will read it eventually, I promise, but not yet. But everyone loves this one. The next question, or the next prompt, is the song, the Hairbrush Song. And it's one book that you love, but you can't find anyone talking about it. And for me, that is the Story Life of A.J. Fikry by Gabrielle Zevin. I love this book so much, and I'm like, why has no one talked about this? It's about a bookstore owner, for goodness sake. How are people on BookTube not eating this book up? It isn't like a 2018 release, so it's a bit older, but still, it's so good. The next song is the Cheeseburger Song, and it's a book you're excited for, but you haven't read yet. So, I still have a copy of The Silent Patient, and I don't know why I haven't picked it up yet. It's blurbed by one of my favorite authors, an author who I really enjoyed his debut book, A.J. Finn, which wrote The Woman in the Window, but I don't really know why I haven't picked this up yet. It's about a woman who supposedly kills her husband, and it's about her time in the hospital where they're trying to figure out if it's like manslaughter, or if it was in defense, or if it was murder, and she just won't talk. So I'm very excited to read this, and this is also, I believe, a debut novel by Alex McLean. So yeah, very excited to read this, but haven't picked it up yet. The next one is The Dance of the Cucumber. Name a translated book. So for me, I don't actually have that book here with me, but I have another book by that author, and that is, the author is Irene Nemirovsky, and she wrote Sweet Francais, which I've read, and this is David Golder, which I have not read, but I really want to read, and she is a very interesting one to read. She wrote in 1930s to 1940s in France, and she was Jewish, and so Sweet Francais was actually the book she was writing during the war, before she was taken and put in a camp and died there. So it's her unedited, unfulfilled novel, or part of a novel, is Sweet Francais, which really recommend. I really want to read this one soon too, because I loved how well she did it, and I'll have to talk about in another video about how Sweet Francais was so interesting to read, but very good and translated as well. Another one, the next one is I Love My Lips, a book you have talked about at least 5 times in videos. So I don't have that many videos out there, and I've tried not to repeat too much, so I don't really have a repeat book, but I have a repeat author, and that's Agatha Christie. So this is The Body in the Library. It was a very good one, but I haven't repeated myself, I don't think, too much, aside from mentioning her books in general. So then the next one is The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything, a book that is different than you expected, or went different than you expected. So for me, I don't know what I was thinking. Apparently I pick up classics and not really know what I'm getting in for, because I picked up Frankenstein and I had never watched a movie adaptation. I had never seen anything about it really. I knew the general pop culture stuff. And then I was reading this with a friend over October last year, and it was like, what did I just get myself in for? It went very different than what I expected. I did not realize it was science fiction. I didn't realize it was like a tell on society. It was very, very moving. And it was not what I expected at all. So, yeah, kind of a surprise. The next one is The Barbara Manatee. Which is a weird book that you adore. So, I have to go with this one. I don't think I've ever talked about this one before, and it's because it's just so weird. I'm not sure how people are going to go with it, but I might as well just go for it. And that's Perfume Story of a Murderer by Patrick Soskind. I think he's Swedish, and it is translated as well, but this one is about a serial killer. And it's told as like faux history, so it's kind of like you have these sections where you are reading it and it's like, oh, in 17 whatever, because this book takes place then, in 17 this year, this is what happened with the king, and this is what happened here, and then, oh, by the way, Jean did this. And you're like, and you're following Jean's life, and the whole thing about Jean is that he has the most amazing ability of smell. So like, when he's an orphan, he can smell, like where the money is hidden in the walls of the orphanage, and he freaks everyone out because of it. But then later on, the smells of these people, of these girls, entice him, and then he starts to kill them. And literally the first 3/4 of the book, maybe 2/3 of the book, he goes and he kills one person, and then the rest of it is about his life and all that. And then at the end, it's like, then he becomes a serial killer. I don't want to give too much away. I really did enjoy it though. I enjoyed the way it was written. And it was very intriguing to read about someone whose sense of smell was so overwhelming. But yeah, I recommend it. It is weird. So don't walk into it thinking a normal mystery or a normal serial killer book, because it's totally not. It's written more like a history book, but different. And the second last question is I'm So Blue by Madame Blueberry, and that is an emotional book. So I've said before that books that typically make me cry are cancer books, emotional roller coasters, or really sad death books. And I typically don't cry at all in other ways. I don't cry in most books. But this is one of the first ones that actually made me sob. And that's My Sister's Keeper by Jodi Picoult. Every time I read this, I cry, basically. And it just is very sad. I feel like being a sister makes you really look at this in a different way. Or even just being a sibling. Like, I don't know how it would be for a brother reading this, but as a sister, to read My Sister's Keeper and you read about this family trauma with cancer and surviving and all of that, and how everyone's grief is so different, and living grief at the same time, because she's still alive, the sister with cancer, so it's very sad. Very, very good though. And then the last question is the Stuff Man Rap, which is the song with Madame Blueberry buying everything. And it is your book buying weakness. So you know when you go to like this bookstore and you see a deal table, like buy 3 for $10 table? Those are a problem. Very much so a problem. Also, whenever I get bonus points wherever I am, that's also, I'll pick up books that I don't really want. But typically, if I'm going into a bookstore and I find a book that looks interesting, I'll read the back and then I'll be like, you know what? I think I'll buy it. And it might just sit on my shelves for a while. But that's typically how I go. I like to browse and then pick out what I want. But if there's a bargain table, you can bet I'm willing to pick up something from there. Just the other day, like a couple weeks ago, I picked up 2 poetry books off of a bargain table, and I don't read a lot of poetry. So I'm going to need to read those to expand my poetry knowledge, but still not my normal buy. So yeah, bargain tables for sure. I hope you enjoyed this tag, and I hope you do it too. Please let me know if you do it. I would love to watch your answers. I think Veggie Tales was always great. It's always been fun to watch them, even as an adult. So I hope that you do this as well if you loved Veggie Tales growing up. If you loved Veggie Tales, I tag you. And I hope to see you next time. Bye.